TGFF, thank God for football. Game day. TGFF, thank God for football. Game day. TGFF, thank God for football. Game day. TGFF, thank God for football. Game day.
You have tuned in to another episode of Thank God for Football, brought to you by the Fanboys, powered by Greenville Sports Media.
Good morning and welcome to week 11 of Thank God for Football. It is another great Friday for us. Week 10 brought us a ton of awesome, great games. We got another fantastic slate on again this week, though. So we are going to kickstart us right back off with my buddy here, Jay, as well. We are going to be talking all of your week 11 college football slate. Jay, it was another fantastic, great week. Welcome back to another fantastic week, though, for this week.
Oh, yeah, Justin, appreciate being here. A lot of great games last week. We also want to thank our sponsors, Hyundai of Anderson. Use code HOA24. That's right, HOA24 when you go in, and they will have a special gift just for you and a special deal. So make sure you use code HOA24 at Hyundai of Anderson. Also, we want to thank Artensburg and Grill in Central South Carolina, Pepsi Cola, The Point RV at Lake Hartwell, and all of our sponsors that are on GreenvilleSportsMedia.com. You can check them out there. But Justin, let's get this show on the road.
Yeah, man, let's get it going. I'm excited for another great week. It was another good week last week, so super excited for us. We are going to kick this show off by heading out to our friends over at the American Conference with our Sideline Sports Network Army guys. They are going to give us the good updates that they have from the American Conference. So we will let you guys give us that, and we look forward to seeing what you guys got to say.
What's up, Thank God for Football? It's Cuthbert from Sidelines Army to talk to you about this week in American Conference football. Now, last week's game of the week, the Air Force Falcons traveled to Michie Stadium for standing room only, just for Army to clip the zoomies and take that leg of the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. The story of this game was that Army won 20-3, but had been predicted to win by over 20. So what happened? Well, our star quarterback and dark horse Heisman candidate Bryson Daly was scratched from the lineup 2 hours before kickoff. With an undisclosed injury or illness, it's unclear exactly what was going on. We later learned Bryson had not practiced that week as he was either under the weather or injured. It's unclear. This past Tuesday, Jeff Monken at his press conference said that he was somewhere between questionable and probable for this week's game against North Texas. They're hoping to get him back on the field ASAP. That being said, if he can't make it, Army is in the capable hands of junior quarterback Dwayne Coleman. Now, Dwayne has seen significant playing time this year, due in part because of Army's dominance. So he's been coming in, playing multiple entire fourth quarters. He saw his first career start this past Saturday, acted something as a game manager, didn't make any mistakes, which is the most important thing, and Army was operating entirely out of the shotgun. It's unclear exactly why they played the entire game out of shotgun against Air Force. It looks to be it was a schematic decision to help throw Air Force off base. Kanye Udo picked up the slack, dropping 158 yards, 2 touchdowns. So Army got the win, and on to Denton this week. Elsewhere around the league, upsets galore. UTSA, which up until now had been something of a dumpster fire with their head coach Jeff Traylor melting down in press conferences talking about NIL money and making excuses for games that they were going to lose they hadn't even played yet. And they come out and they best Memphis. It was 44-36. This was a very, very pass-heavy game. Talking about 760 total yards of passing, 8 touchdowns. What are some meaningful takeaways? Well, at this point now, Memphis is not even on life support for the American Athletic Conference Championship game. At 2 losses, they're behind Navy with 1 conference loss, as well as Tulane and Army, both undefeated. Does this game calm things down for Jeff Traylor's job? Maybe. It's unclear. But definitely a surprise there. Nobody was expecting Memphis to fall to UTSA. And then, perhaps even more incredibly, Navy travels to Rice and loses 24-10. Rice, who just a week earlier had fired Mike Bloomgren, they had interim head coach Pete Alomar, Rice wins 24-10. Now, this was a crazy game. It was supposed to have a 4 o'clock Eastern time kickoff. It didn't kick off until about 7:30 Eastern time because of weather delays. They played for about 10 minutes. Rice got an interception, and then there was another weather delay. And then they got started, and there was another delay. And this was a game that was just broken from the start, unfortunately. It's unclear if Blake Horvath, formerly a Heisman dark horse, the star quarterback of Navy, it's unclear if his hand is still injured. We clearly saw the effects of it against Notre Dame as he's coughing up fumbles and he's throwing interceptions. There's no reporting on it as of now, whether it's still injured or not, but he did throw 2 picks and was held to only 64 yards on the ground. I said a few weeks ago that I thought that maybe Horvath should be considered for the American Conference MVP, not because I think he's better than Bryson Daly, but because the Navy offense 100% runs through him. And Bryson Daly, who is unbelievably talented and deserves all the accolades, he also has a Swiss Army knife of tools, right? He's got Kanye Udo and he's got Noah Short. Tyrell Robinson is back in the mix. So much of that sling T that Newberry runs at Navy, it runs through Horvath. And if he is not going to be able to deliver at 100% because he's got an injured hand or an injured thumb, that greatly hamstrings them. And then upsets. UAB out of nowhere drops 59 and blanks the Golden Hurricane. Has Trent Dilford cooled off his hot seat? He looked like he lost control of this team months ago with the way they were playing. There's rumors about dissension in the locker room. He's having contentious exchanges with reporters after games. It looked like Dilfer was on the hot seat. It looked like he was on the way out, but with putting up 49 points. Jalen Kitna, his quarterback, absolutely balled out, 400 yards in the air, six touchdowns. And wide receiver Cam Shanks absolutely feasted, 5 catches, 153 yards, 3 touchdowns. So, maybe Dilfer's got a little life left at UAB. We'll see what happens there at the end of the season. Elsewhere around the league last week, Tulane absolutely just too much for the Charlotte 49ers. I got a soft spot in my heart for the Charlotte 49ers. It was a Thursday night game in Charlotte. Sports Center was on campus. It was a packed house. I watched the first about quarter and a half of this. The energy was high. Tulane was only up 10-3 at 14-3 at halftime, and you start to think to yourself, hey, maybe Charlotte's got a puncher's chance here. But then they just absolutely just took over and started to dominate in the second half. Final score 34-3. The Fighting Biff Pogies, they showed up, but Tulane is right up there. They're undefeated in the conference. They've got 2 losses. They are gunning for the AAC championship, and they are crossing fingers and crossing toes, hoping that Boise can get knocked off and they can squeeze in to that 5th auto bid with the win in the American. And then the last game last weekend, the Bulls of USF, they absolutely clobbered Florida Atlantic, 44-21. Byron Brown still out, still no timetable for his return. In backup, their quarterback Archie came in. He did well. He threw for 206 and 2 touchdowns. USF had 319 yards, 4 touchdowns on the ground. That run game was cooking. And then there was a little bit of spice there after the game. Is USF and Florida Atlantic a big rivalry? Apparently. Last season when they played, Florida Atlantic went for a 2-point conversion and an onside kick late in the game, winning handily. And USF didn't forget it. And they ran the score up. And it was a pretty entertaining handshake after the game between Golish and Herman. So I would definitely recommend you look that up, though I'm sure you saw it floating around the interweb. Storylines at this point now for the American, it's all in for the championship game. Because of the Navy upset loss to Rice, because of the Memphis upset loss to UTSA, we have a much clearer picture. But as the picture gets clearer, it means that the games become so much more meaningful. Currently, Army and Tulane are both in the driver's seat. Army, 8-0, undefeated overall, 6-0 in the conference. Tulane, 2 losses, but both out of conference. They're still undefeated. So, they're not going to play each other. If each of them win out, then we're going to have ourselves an Army Tulane championship game. Navy at 1 loss from this past week in conference. They are, I would say, on life support. I wouldn't say they're quite eliminated yet. I mean, there's enough football that, there's only a couple teams that are mathematically eliminated, but Navy is at best on life support. And honestly, I think Memphis is just out of the picture. They got 2 losses. They have not mathematically been eliminated yet, but I don't think there's any realistic chance they're going to get into this championship. The cards have to fall so incredibly for that to happen. But the last week of the regular season, Thanksgiving weekend, Memphis is going to be playing Tulane. They can act as the spoiler. These 2 teams have played each other at something like 15 times in the last 16 years. They know each other well. That is going to be a game to watch in about 3 weeks. So this week, the game of the week, it's clearly there's just one. It's my Army Black Knights going to Denton, going to North Texas for what will undoubtedly be their toughest test yet of the season. In North Texas, we have what's honestly an unstoppable force. Their offense is putting up over 40 points a game. Chandler Morris, transfer quarterback, he's dropping absolute dimes. DT Sheffield, he weighs 170 pounds and he runs 170 miles per hour. He is a dangerous wide receiver who can take the ball on a pitch or a speed option, and the Army defense is going to have their hands full. This is an offense that should be feared, and the Army defense, which statistically has done very well, it's a bend, don't break defense. Army plays its best defense in the red zone. They had 2 red zone interceptions last week against Air Force. When you're a service academy, by and large, your players, they're not going to be as big, they're not going to be as strong, they're not going to be as fast. So as a result, you have to play a defense that is frankly a little bit softer and allows a little bit more in the open field. But then when you get down to that red zone, when that field gets shrunk and all of a sudden speed and height are less advantages, that's when the Army defense really, really steps up. So, meanwhile, the North Texas defense is almost non-existent. So they're scoring over 40 points a game, but they're giving up over 41 points a game. In particular, they're not strong at stopping the run. And if there's anything that Army does well, it's running the damn ball. So North Texas is coming off a bye. They've had an extra week to prepare. There's an additional wrinkle. We don't know who's going to be at the quarterback. We don't know if it's going to be D. Cole or if Bryson Daly is going to make his triumphant return. If it is D. Cole, are we going to be seeing shotgun looks? Is he going to be back under center? There's a lot of question marks here. So North Texas's defense, they've had an extra week to prepare, but it's unclear that they're going to be ready for the speed or the physicality of the Army run game. I am saying that this game is going to be North Texas, which is an unstoppable force and a movable object, versus Army, whose offense also appears to be just about unstoppable. They struggled last week against Air Force. We got a backup quarterback in. It's his first start. There's timing issues. There's clearly a learning curve in terms of experience. But Army has a very stout defense, at least statistically. Now, Army has not had the hardest schedule up to this point. They have yet to see a passing attack on par with North Texas. So it's unclear if the Army defense is going to be exposed. Personally, I think what we're going to see, it's going to be a repeat of when Army played Wake Forest a few years ago and San Diego State in a bowl game a few years before that, where basically Army's going to get the ball. They're going to do small chunk runs. We're talking anywhere from 3 to 12 yards. They're going to try and eat clock. They're going to, get to they won't be able to be stopped. They're going to score a touchdown. They're going to kick the ball off, and North Texas is going to score in about 4 plays. I think there's a very real chance that happens. If that's the case, all of a sudden, it 100% becomes a game for Army in terms of ball control, managing the game, managing the clock, and limiting the number of possessions that both teams are going to get. It will be very interesting to see how North Texas handles this. I mean, if you are averaging over 40 points a game and you're giving up over 40 points a game, that means you're looking at a minimum of 6 scoring drives, assuming all touchdowns, 6 scoring drives per team per game. In Army's perfect game plan, there's only 6 drives. So all of a sudden, North Texas's margin of error gets significantly smaller. This is the game of the week. It's going to be on ESPN2 at 3:30 on Saturday, Eastern Time. Go Black Knights. Elsewhere around the league, Rice is traveling to Memphis. Memphis is an 8-point favorite. Is the Pete Alomar interim head coach bounce going to continue, or are they going to drop off? Was their victory over Navy a fluke, or maybe they're finding something? Maybe Memphis is starting to unravel a little bit here. They lost to UTSA. Navy comes to my current residence of Tampa, Florida, to play the USF Bulls. Navy is a 3.5-point favorite. I don't know if Navy's going to win this game. I just don't know. I know that USF is very hot and very cold. They almost lost to UAB. They were fighting on the sidelines. They pulled it together and they got the dub. They beat Florida Atlantic last week. Byram Brown, their star quarterback, he's still up in the air, but they've got Archie. Archie proved himself last week, beating the Owls in Boca. So, that'll be another really good game to keep your eye on. UConn travels to UAB. Dilfer's seat might be a little bit cooler than it was 2 weeks ago, but is he going to be able to beat a UConn team that's favored by a touchdown? I don't know. UConn's not a particularly strong team, but they are fairly consistent. UAB looks to be definitely doing some ups and downs. So we just got to see if Dilfer is going to be able to pull this one out. And last but not least, Temple. Oh, Temple. They're traveling to Tulane. Tulane is favored by a modest 26.5 points. I've been talking for weeks that Tulane, they want to get to the AAC championship game. They want to win the AAC championship game, and then they want to make it to the college football playoff. Having those 2 losses, even against Oklahoma and Kansas State, the only way Tulane's doing that is if they absolutely blow out their opponents. Temple, God bless them. There's no way they're winning this game, and I think that Tulane is going to want to pad that resume. They're going to want the committee to take notice of them, so they're going to have to run the score up. This one could get ugly. In the meantime, I'm getting out of here. Thanks so much. Thank God for football. Go Army. Beat North Texas.
Welcome back into the show. We appreciate our good friends over at redbubble.com. We would like for you guys to go visit redbubble.com. Pull up the Furman Joust collection, and you are able to get all of your TGFF game day gear. You can get anywhere between 15 and 30% off. That's right, 30% off for your game day gear. But once again, thanks to our friends over there at the Sideline Sports Network, Army as well, for giving us the great update there from our American Conference. But Jay, I'm going to let you take it away now as you're going to head up our Southern Conference updates for this week, so you'll be able to take that away and give us the good updates from the SoCon this week.
Hey everybody, this is Jay here with the Southern Conference news and notes for TGFF Game Day. What a week in the Southern Conference last week. Western Carolina was able to get the win last week and pivot their way in. Furman gave up a win to VMI. VMI gets the first win of the week. That was, I think, very encouraging for VMI. They finally get off the snod. And Furman, got to look towards next year. A bunch of young guys and did a great job, just could not finish it off. And congratulations to VMI. And, of course, UT Chattanooga lost to Western Carolina. And then the other was Mercer. Mercer getting the win over ETSU. So, right now, Mercer and Western Carolina look pivoted to fight for the Southern Conference title. But let's go into this week's pivotal matchups, as we got a lot of games to talk about. First off, Western Carolina and ETSU will be starting it off at 12 p.m. Western Carolina going to ETSU. This game could be a shocker. That's right. ETSU, I think this is a team on the rise. They got a chance to do a lot of great things. But I think Western Carolina is going to eke this one out just like they did against Chattanooga. Give me Western Carolina in this game. Next game up is Mercer traveling to the now one-win VMI that's on a streak. VMI,
I don't think has enough for Mercer. Mercer's just a little bit stronger than what Furman was, and I think that VMI is going to be good next year, but this year, just not going to be able to take on Mercer. Mercer is on its way to a chance to be the Southern Conference champion, so give me Mercer in this game. UTC, off a loss to Western Carolina, travels to the Citadel, a team that is trying to make its way up the Southern Conference rankings. UTC, I think, is going to be a little bit too strong for Citadel, but you know what? This is what I call shocker week. Don't be shocked if Citadel gets an upset. Next one is Wofford. Will be coming here to where I'm at, Furman, and it's going to be a great game. Furman right now is looking towards next year. We're fixing to go into the press conference here in a little bit, and I look forward to listening to what Clay has to say. I know he's disappointed, but you know there's bright spots for Furman this year. But I think Wofford showed last week they've got a defense, and their offense is playing pretty well. So even though it's at home, I think Wofford might get this game over Furman. But I wouldn't, like I said, I think a shocker could happen. Furman could get the win over Wofford, just like Wofford did last year against Furman. No one has expected that win last year by Wofford over Furman, because Furman was the SoCon champions at the time. But they did, so don't be surprised if Furman gets the win over Wofford. And finally, Tennessee Tech travels to Sanford, so that way all of the teams are playing this week. Sanford and Tennessee Tech. I haven't really learned a lot about Tennessee Tech, but I think that they're going to be a little bit too much for Sanford. So give me Tennessee Tech at Sanford. That game's going to be at 3 o'clock. Furman's game will be at 2. UT at Citadel will be at 2. Mercer at VMI will be at 1:30. All those are Eastern time. So great week. Also, we've got soccer going on, a lot volleyball, a lot of great things these teams are doing. Western Carolina looks like they're going to be in the driver's seat. They'll be playing Sanford in the championship game, and in soccer. But that's soccer. I'm sorry, I get a little excited about all the different things that are playing right now. So anyway, that's my TGFF Game Day news and notes for this week.
Hello everybody, it's your old pal Uncle Bobby. You love Arden's Burger and Grill because you know what? I got me a sampler platter, that's right. She made me a sampler platter of everything Uncle Bobby loves. Look at there, we got the s'mores French toast, ooh, we got some wings, and we got the powdered burger, and you know what, Uncle Bobby? He loves some wings, I'm telling you right now. You will not miss. I'll tell you, the double dip wings will make you double dip crazy. I'm telling you right now, it's the best thing you ever put in your mouth. Oh yeah, and French toast, hey, they serve breakfast all day long. No. Uncle Bobby loves them from French toast. And folks, the paladin burger. Ooh, blueberry barbecue sauce, smoked Gouda cheese, yum yum. Make sure you get down here to Arden's Burger and Grill Central. Uncle Bobby, I commend it, recommend it, everything that is amended, I do it here at Arden's Burger and Grill in Central South Carolina. And don't forget, they're going to open a place called Beef and Ribbies. That's right, it's going to be so good it sticks to your ribbies and makes you do this all day long. I'm telling you right now, come to Arden's Burger and Grill. TGF Game Day, we're here.
Thanks again, Jay, so much for all that great SoCon information. We also want to thank our friends over at Arden's as well. You know where to go get your food in Central South Carolina as well. Great wings, great food, great prices. Can't beat it. So you know where to go. But Jay, we are going to hit up our next segment of the show as well. We are heading out to the Mountain West as well with our friends over at the SSN Lobos. So we appreciate that. We hope you guys enjoy their updates for this week as they hit up the Mountain West. So look forward to that.
Hey everybody, it's Adam with this week's Mountain West portion of the show. And of course, we'd like to start with recapping last week. And it started with Boise State beating San Diego State 56-24. They kept their chances of a playoff appearance up. In fact, the Broncos come in at number 12 in the very first rankings of the college football playoff. They are the top group of 5 team right now. Wyoming, they used 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns to beat New Mexico and earn their second win on the season, 49-45. Hawaii scores a touchdown with 15 seconds to go, and they top Fresno State 21-20 to get their second consecutive win. The Rainbow Warriors are now 2-2 in the Mountain West Conference. Colorado State beat Nevada 38-21. They stayed undefeated in conference, and the Rams, well, they're poised to play spoiler in a Boise State UNLV rematch for the conference championship game. They've got 3 games left this season to try to wrap it up, and none of them are against UNLV. Who knows? We could be hitting for a Boise State-Colorado State collision for the conference championship game. And lastly, Air Force lost to Army 20-3. That drops the Falcons to 1-7 on the season. On to this week's games. We'll start first with the game of the week. UNLV visits Hawaii. That game is at 7 p.m. Mountain Time on Saturday, 9 Eastern on CBS Sports Network. The Rainbow Warriors, they've won 2 in a row. We said that earlier. They're up to 4-5 on the year, 2-2 in conference. The last 2 weeks combined, the Hawaii defense has been unreal. They've given up just 113 rushing yards, like I said, combined in those 2 games. UNLV thrives in the running game. They've gone for 244 games so far this year. Haja Malik Williams and Jaden Thomas will lead the way for UNLV. It's going to be a battle in the trenches out there on the island. I got UNLV winning 30-17. Game number 2, Boise State will host Nevada Saturday night at 6 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Eastern. That game is going to be on Fox. The Broncos are looking for their 7th consecutive win on the season. Nevada, well, they give up 156 yards on the ground, meaning that Ashton Genty, he should be able to find space in this one as well. Nevada relies on dual-threat quarterback Brendan Lewis to move the football, which he has struggled to do against good defenses. Boise State has a good defense, only against the run, though. Second best against the run in the conference. They give up 250 yards through the air, though. If Nevada hangs around, it's going to be because of the pass. I don't think they'll hang around. I like the Broncos winning 45-24. Lastly, we're going to talk about Friday night's game as the New Mexico Lobos go on the road to play San Diego State. That game, like I said, Friday night, 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time and 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox Sports 1. This one could turn into another shootout. The Lobos are used to that this year. All but one of their games has been high scoring. Now, San Diego State, they allow 396 yards per game and 28 points per game. And the Lobos, well, they give up 41 points per game and 480 yards of offense a game. So there's not going to be any defense in this contest, I believe, on Friday night. So if you like offense, tune into Fox Sports 1 and watch that one. So the Lobos ran for 412 yards last week against Wyoming with just quarterback Devon Dampier and running back Eli Sanders getting the carries. Both of them went for over 200 yards in that game. The Aztecs themselves, well, they struggle to run the football. They average just 123 yards on the ground. However, New Mexico gives up 237 yards on the ground a game. Expect Aztec running back Marquez Cooper to have a big game in this one. He went for over 200 yards only once this year. That was the season opening game against Texas A&M Commerce. He will probably go for that again against the Lobo defense on Friday night. Expect some big-time running for both teams. High scoring. Unfortunately, I like the Aztecs in this one, 45-42. All right, that'll do it for me. Give me a follow on X at SSN New Mexico. Have a great weekend of football, everybody.
Our newest partner, W Energy Drinks. You know, energy drink, you get the powder, you mix it up at home, but it's better than any of that coffee, any of that energy drink you get. There's no crash, no jitters, no angst. They have a patented neural factor. That's the star of the show. They got brain food. I'm talking taurine, tyrosine, glutamine, more. They only have the best amino acids. Only the best brain benefiting vitamins. I'm talking B3, B12, vitamin C, much more. I'm also talking 150 milligrams of caffeine, so just like your energy, it gives you that kick. But there's no sugar, no maltodextrin, no fake colors, no dyes, no fillers, no BS. You can go to w.gg W.GG. Make sure you use the code REALFRESH. 2 words, code REALFRESH. Get 10% off of your order.
All right, that was some great news from the Mountain West. Thank everybody out there. We want to thank our guy out there at Mountain West Lobos. So we want now to go to our Sittin' Pretty Underdog moment. Poor Ralphie, he's had some pretty bad luck lately, but, we'll see how he does this week. Let's go to Ralphie and the Sittin' Pretty Dog Grooming moment of the week.
Hey everybody, it's your old pal Ralphie, and this week's underdog pick is Vandy over South Carolina. That's right, Vandy over South Carolina is my underdog pick of the week.
Thank you so much, Ralphie, again for giving us that awesome pick. I mean, I know you haven't been doing too well lately, but we always appreciate the underdog pick of the week. Thanks to our friends too over at Sittin' Pretty Dog Grooming as well. Thank you guys for sponsoring that part of the show as well. But we are now going to take it out to our friends over at Run the Damn Ball. They're going to give us another amazing update here from the Big Ten. They're going to recap last week as well as give you guys the week that's going to be this week as well. They are going to be sponsored by Cowboy Revolution. Please go visit cowboyrevolution.com and use code FurmanJoust to get your 15% off all of your great, fantastic gear. Jay rocking the hat. So thanks so much. Take it away. Run the damn ball. Give us that Big Ten news.
All right, y'all. Welcome to Run the Damn Ball. This is your host, Daniel Magnuson. We talk Nebraska football, college football, and today we'll be doing Big Ten football. Going to go ahead and give a rundown for all the games this weekend, how I think each game's going to go. And then, we're coming up, this is week 11 now in college football. And then, go ahead and talk about, I'll go ahead and say what I think is going to happen in the Big Ten season. In terms of who's going to, end up in the conference title game, how I think certain teams may stack up because we had the playoff poll come out this week. So we'll go ahead and get into that. First off, tonight we got Iowa at UCLA. Iowa's looking pretty good. They had a rough loss a couple weeks ago to Michigan State, but besides that, they've had a solid showing this season. They lost to Iowa State earlier in the year. Yeah, they got blown out by Ohio State, but they have blowout win over Wisconsin, blowout win over Northwestern in their last 2 games. They also had a big win over Washington back in middle of October. And a big part of all of that is Caleb Johnson, probably the second best running back in college football. Best running back probably in the Power 4 right now. Completely transformed what Iowa was able to do. I thought they underutilized him the last couple of years he was there. I mean, he was scoring touchdowns for them back in 2022 and 2023 when they had a terrible offense and they just didn't use him enough, I felt like. And now they've just turned him loose. They have a better offense. Brendan Sullivan is now the QB there. He's replaced McNamara. He can also run. And that's really what they've been missing for years. Their defense is not even as good as it used to be either, but it's like it doesn't matter because their offense actually scores points. So that's been cool to see them turn things around. And UCLA, on the other hand, they're improving too. They're coming off a win against Nebraska this past weekend. Nebraska had one of their lesser games. Believe me, I know. I watched the game. I'm a Nebraska fan. But UCLA looked better on offense. They looked better on defense, which is just credit to them. I'm not going to talk about Nebraska necessarily in this game because, UCLA won. They're the one playing. They got 4 games left. They're 3-5, and they probably have to win. They got to win 2 out of 3 of their Big Ten games because they do end Fresno State with their last game of the season on November 30th. So not going to rule it out of realm possibility that they can make a bowl. But this is probably their toughest challenge is definitely Iowa tonight. And I think they'll play well. It just won't matter because Iowa's defense is just a little bit better. And the offense is Caleb Johnson. So I think, considering this is Run the Damn Ball, this is my YouTube channel, we're going to go with the guy who can do that, and that's Caleb Johnson. I'd say 24-21 Iowa win. UCLA finds a way to make it close, though. Purdue at Ohio State, I'm not even going to waste time on this pick because you guys know Purdue is probably the worst team in the Big Ten. Ohio State's a top 3 team in the Big Ten. Give me Ohio State. That game's tomorrow by a lot, actually. They're going to win by a lot. Minnesota at Rutgers, we got Minnesota. They've been playing well, actually. They've had some close wins recently. They're 6-3. They had a close win over UCLA back in October. 8-point win against Illinois last weekend, and then they beat Maryland by 25 as well in the end of October. I mean, I don't know how they pulled it together fully. I think Brosmer is a big reason. They proved that he was the better QB option than Kaliak-Manis. Shows why they, sent Kaliak-Manis over to Rutgers theoretically, because now they play them this weekend. And Brosmer's been a decent QB, not a world beater, but he's going to go and manage the game, and that's kind of what they need. They're more of a run team first. Yeah, Daniel Jackson's a good wide receiver, but Darius Taylor, I think, is going to be a little too good in this game for Rutgers to handle. Not sure if Monungai is 100%. And I just think Minnesota finds a way to win close games this season. They probably should have had a chance to really beat Michigan, if not for that bad onside kick call by the refs. So it's like this team is pretty decent. I think they beat Rutgers tomorrow in a really close game. Michigan and Indiana, I think Michigan's trending in the right direction actually, because Davis Warren actually played respectable against Oregon. He had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. I think he was 12 for 21, which is not like amazing percentage, but still like decent game. Didn't turn it over. And I think that's going to be a big difference. We'll keep Michigan in the game against Indiana, in my opinion. But I do think Indiana has a little bit too much firepower, and they're on fire as well, that offense. The defense causes turnovers too. I think it's going to be way closer than people think, but Indiana finds a way to win by 7. And there could be some defensive touchdowns in that game too. Maryland at Oregon. Yeah, let's just go ahead and call it the way it is. I mean, Oregon's on fire. Their offense is probably the best in the Big Ten right now. I think they score 40-something points. Maryland might hang around. Maybe they score 20-something, maybe even get in the 30s because of some of their offensive players. Ty Felton, Roman Hemby, what's his name? Caden Prather. But they're still, I mean, Billy Edwards turns the ball over sometimes, and Oregon's a little too good. So gonna say about 14 to 20 point win for Oregon. And then Washington at Penn State. This is where I get a little more opinionated. I do think Penn State's overrated. I think it's time for them to get upset. And this is the game. Washington has one of the best running backs in college football in Jonah Coleman. Will Rogers is an experienced QB. He's not going to be rattled by a road game like this. Giles Jackson's a super athletic wide receiver. Denzel Boston's a really good wide receiver for Washington. They're going to go in and upset Penn State because Penn State's offense is not that good. We saw last weekend, even when they move the ball down the field, they can't finish. Yeah, they have a good tight end in Tyler Warren, but still, they're just not that impressive to me. They're carried by their defense, and I think Washington has the firepower, and they have guys to go and upset Penn State. I think 21-7 upset win. The pressure's high in Penn State right now, especially after losing another big game. I think they're like James Franklin's like 1-10 versus Ohio State, something like that. If he doesn't get a blocked kick, he's not going to do it. So, that's besides the point for this game. But I just think that energy creeps over and they lose to Washington, and he's kind of going to be in trouble there. So that's how I see it. I also think ranking Penn State over Indiana, especially after what Indiana's done this year, is pretty dumb and biased. I think Indiana's a top 3 team in the Big Ten. Penn State's not. I would say it's Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana, Penn State, and then everyone else. And until Indiana beats Ohio State, I can't jump them yet, but I think they very well could. So we'll see about that game, I believe, in 2 weekends. But for now, that's everything in the Big Ten. And going to be a fun weekend. I do think the Big Ten title is probably going to be Ohio State, Oregon. But if Indiana, of course, beats Ohio State, then yes, that it'll be a Oregon, Indiana, which would be a wild Big Ten title game. So anyway, that's everything. Thanks for listening. Run the damn ball. We out.
Welcome back into the show. Thanks so much for that awesome news out from the Big Ten. Thanks again to our partners over there at Cowboy Revolution. We're going to go take it now, Jay, to our friends over at the Coaches Box. They are going to help us with the SEC this week. Tons of big games there in their conference this week. So they're going to let us know about the games from last week and the games as well for this week. They are going to be sponsored by TrueVictory.com. Go to TrueVictory.com. Use code FirmAndJust to get your 15% off. But we're going to let the guys over at the Coaches Box give us their updates from the SEC.
Hello, everybody. This is Coach Halley from the Coaches Box. Call it like we see a podcast. And this is another edition of this week in the SEC. We're going to talk a little bit of football. There's 6 great games this week, as there always are in the SEC, and I can't wait to get into it. We've got, out of the 6 games, we've got 5 of them involve a ranked team, and the other one involves a team that should be ranked. And they're ranked in some polls, but not in all polls, but they should be higher than what they are. So let's get right into it. First game we're going to talk about is going to be the Tennessee and Mississippi State game. The Bulldogs go to Tennessee, to Knoxville, to play a 6 p.m. game. So you're at night in Neyland Stadium with it packed, the orange is rocking. And let's face it, Mississippi State is just not very good. They have the 14th worst defense in the country at about 35 points a game given up. And they're going against the 12th best offense in the country, and Tennessee at 38 points a game. The line has this at Tennessee, a 24-point favorite. I expect Tennessee to win it by more than 24. This is a 4-touchdown game, and it will just stay that way moving forward. So good luck to the Bulldogs, but they're going to drop to 2-8 on the year. Number 7 Tennessee picks up their 8th win of the season, and they're sitting pretty in the SEC rankings moving forward. So, like I said, Tennessee big in that one. The next game we're going to talk about Florida and Texas. Florida at 4-4, who's looked a little bit better the last couple of weeks, going to Texas, number 5 Longhorns, who are 7-1 on the season. This is going to come down to quarterback play, because right now Florida I don't believe will have their quarterback available to them. DJ Lagaway, I believe, is injured. He was injured. They don't think he's going to play this weekend. And Texas has 2 of the best quarterbacks in the country. But with Quinn Ewers playing the way he is, it's Texas in their top 15 ranked offense and their number 2 ranked defense completely overwhelming Florida, who is 57th in offense and 72nd in defense. That's where it's going to come in. That top 15 offense versus that number 72 defense. I just don't think, especially without their quarterback at Texas or in Austin, I don't think that I don't believe, and I don't think anybody in the world believes, that Florida has enough weapons to go to Texas and beat them. Texas, as a 21.5 point favorite, completely blows that one out of the water. Take the over on that one. I look for a 4-touchdown victory for Texas at Texas. You can probably, that one's as close to it as a lock in that one is what it's going to be. So moving on to the next game we're going to talk about is going to be South Carolina at Vanderbilt. Now, this is a very intriguing game. This is probably the closest matchup. Vanderbilt in some polls are ranked in the low to the 23, 24, 25. Some they're in the also receiving votes, but they've been very good this year, I think, for them. And South Carolina has a couple of really good wins to their resume, and I like what they're doing. South Carolina is sitting at 5-3, 1 game away from bowl eligibility. Vanderbilt is bowl eligible at 6-3, and this is a tough one because it's a mid-afternoon game at First Bank Stadium in Nashville, where Vanderbilt's been pretty good this year. So what I like to see about this one is the quarterback play. This is going to be quarterback versus quarterback. This is going to be Sellers for South Carolina, who has been very good the last couple of weeks, just managing the game and doing the things that he needs to do, versus Diego Pavia from Vanderbilt, who has been as Vanderbilt goes. So if Pavia has a good game, which he has had all year, I expect him to continue to have another good game. I think Vanderbilt wins this game and moves to 7 wins on the season. Who'd have thought you'd be able to say that about Vanderbilt this year? Nobody kind of saw them. They saw them being better, but I don't think they saw them being this much better. So I like Vanderbilt on this one. I don't know that they'll cover that. I think they'll end up. They'll cover the spread because South Carolina is the favorite, a 3.5 point favorite. I don't like that line very much. I think it's tough to beat Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt this year, especially. I like Vanderbilt to win this game. probably by a field goal or a touchdown. It's going to be a close one, but I like Vanderbilt to win this game. Whichever offense has it last will win the game, and it'll be Vanderbilt. Our next game we're going to go to is we're going to talk a little. Oh, sorry, mix my notes up there for a minute. We're going to talk a little MU Oklahoma. I'm a Mizzou fan, and I think that's been wildly apparent on our show. I probably am going to pick Mizzou in this game, but it is a tough pick. My heart picks Mizzou. My head is kind of tied up in this one. It's going to come down to, does Brady Cook play? Because if Brady Cook does not play, Drew Pine is not able to get this done. Mizzou has weapons. Their offense hasn't been very good in getting them to them, and it's just going to come down to whether Mizzou's offense can play the way they're capable of playing. I feel like a broken record. We say that each week. But if Brady Cook doesn't play, I don't think Mizzou really has a good chance at winning. Unless, and then here's the key, neither run defense has been very good, Mizzou's or Oklahoma's. They kind of get shredded in the 2 games that Missouri's lost. They have been absolutely shredded by the run. Now Mizzou has a really good pass defense. They're according to the stats, they're number 2 in the country in pass defense, only giving up 165 yards a game. But the run defense has not been very good, and neither has Oklahoma's. So this is going to come down to the run game. Whichever team rushes for more yards will get this win. So does Nate Noel play? Because he's been on the injured list. They have him listed as doubtful, I believe, or probable. So he may play. Brady Cook is also listed as probable, so he may play. And then Oklahoma doesn't have very many injuries. They only had, I think, 2 names on the injury list. So, and I don't think they were either one of their very important players or 2 very important players. So Oklahoma will be healthy. They're 5-4. They're looking to get to bowl eligibility, but they're coming into Mizzou, who's still kind of hanging on to their ranking at 24 in the ESPN polls. They're out of it after that. I think they're 24 in the college football playoff polls. So they're holding on to that ranking. This game will come down to the rush game. Whichever team rushes for more yards will win. The favorite has OU at 3 points, and it's a close one. My heart's going with Mizzou. My head is whoever has I can't say that Mizzou's not going to win because that's not what fans do. But whichever team rushes for more yards will win this game, and that I'm almost sure of. So. And we have 2 more games we're going to cover. The next game we're going to cover is going to be Bama at LSU. Alabama, 6:30 primetime game in Death Valley under the lights. And this is going to come down to quarterback play. Milroe versus Nussmeier. I've been fairly vocal about I'm not a big fan of Garrett Nussmeier, but he's played pretty well this year. The stats show that he's pretty well this year, and this will be the game that will change my mind on him if he plays well and he's able to beat Alabama. Last week, 2 weeks ago, Alabama looked pretty good against Mizzou. But if they run the ball well against LSU and control the clock, and Milroe can use his legs to kind of extend plays and extend out that defense, I think Alabama's able to win this game. I just don't think they have enough weapons in that environment to be able to stop LSU, because that's a tough place to play is in Death Valley under the lights. So I'm going to go with number 15 LSU getting their 7th win of the year, and Alabama dropping to 6-3. So that's my pick for that one. And I think the prime game of the week is in the mid-afternoon slot is going to be Georgia at Ole Miss. So they're going to Oxford, and Georgia's looking to try to beat the number 16 Ole Miss team. This game is about Georgia's defense and Ole Miss's offense, because Ole Miss's offense is really, really good, and Georgia's defense is really, really good. So the key player of this game, and I'm going to call it now, is going to be Jackson Dart. It's an easy call to make as the quarterback for Ole Miss. He's averaging over 350 yards a game. He's thrown 21 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions on the year. He's been really good. He's spread the ball around to a lot of different weapons. And because it's at Ole Miss, I am looking for Ole Miss to pull the upset on number 2 Georgia and kind of keep throwing this whole SEC into a topsy-turvy mix here as we get towards the end of the year and figuring out who's going to be playing in the SEC championship game. There's still a lot of schools still in the hunt, but a lot of them have got to play better over these last 3 weeks in order to get to that the top of that list. But Texas, Ole Miss, Georgia, Bama, LSU, those are the front runners, and then there's several other that still have a chance to get into that game. They just have to play better moving forward. But I like Ole Miss in this one. Georgia's a 2.5-point favorite, but Ole Miss is here. I've picked several underdogs this week in the SEC, but we'll see how this goes. There've been a lot of close ones moving forward, and we'll see how the week goes. I'm excited for the week of football. It's supposed to be rainy here in Missouri, which means I'm going to be able to kind of have some football on and just enjoy the TV that day and see all kinds of good football. So again, thanks for tuning in. We at the Coach's Box. If you haven't already, please subscribe and like our videos. You can go to all of the social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, X, TikTok. I believe we're also on Twitch. So like, subscribe, and get on the Coach's Box bandwagon. So again, Kevin Halley, thank you very much. We'll see you next week.
All right. Some great news out there. We appreciate everything that you do for the TGFF Game Day. And now we go to our Big 12 segment, brought to you by Pepsi Cola. Nothing's better than an ice cold Pepsi when you're tailgating. Make sure to get you an ice cold Pepsi or any Pepsi products whenever you tailgate. Let's go to our Big 12 segment of the week.
Hello, everybody. This is Jay here, and I'm bringing you your Big 12 news and notes this week. Unfortunately, Joe was under the weather, so I told him I would step in for him. So this is the news and notes for the Big 12. Sorry you won't get the comprehensive news that Joe gives each and every week. We hope he gets to feeling better, Joe. We're rooting for you, man. Get to feeling better. Let's go to this week's games. West Virginia at Cincinnati. Both these teams have had one of those years, but I think West Virginia by far is the better team in this game, and look for them to go into Cincinnati and get the win and get out of there as quick as possible. Iowa State, 17th ranked Iowa State goes to Kansas. Iowa State, of course, had the dreadful win last week. No one was expecting that, so of course they fell in the rankings and probably lowered their chances of getting into the playoffs, but we'll still see there's still some football to be played. But they go into Kansas and get the win for sure. Kansas has just had one of those years. Of course, they lost their star quarterback at the first year, and it's just been downhill ever since. Give me Iowa State in this game. 20th ranked Colorado goes to Texas Tech. This is a dangerous game. I don't care if Colorado is ranked or not. Texas Tech is a tough football team. You never know what you're going to get with them. They're playing at home. That's going to be another big thing. So give me... I'm going to take Texas Tech in this game as far as this segment goes. So I might change my mind when we do our guest picks, but give me Texas Tech in this game. All right, UCF, a team that I thought was going to be in the playoffs. I really did. They've just been a disappointment to me this year. Going up to Arizona State, and I think Arizona State I've picked, and every time I've picked them, they've won. So give me Arizona State over UCF in this game. If it was at home, I'd probably give UCF the nod, but I think being at Arizona State, that's a big difference. Give me Arizona State. Oklahoma State goes to TCU. Both of these teams have been a disappointment this year. The Big 12 I thought would be so much stronger than what they've shown. But I tell you what, give me TCU in this game because they're playing at home. I think this is just one of those weeks where the home team, other than the Iowa State, West Virginia, I think the home team will do well in this game. So give me TCU over Oklahoma State. But Oklahoma State, they should be better than what they are. I don't know what's going on with that team, but give me TCU. BYU versus Utah. Utah, another team that had high aspirations, was ranked and have just fallen down that path due to injury. BYU, top 10 team. BYU is going to win this game. Utah could make it fun for the first half, but I think when it's all said and done, BYU gets the win. So anyway, that's our news and notes for the Big 12 this week. Sorry it was quick and fast, but like I said, I was hoping Joe would be able to be here, but we're just glad that he's mending, getting better. We're all pulling for you. And this has been your TGFF Game Day news and notes for the Big 12, brought to you by Pepsi Cola. Nothing's better than ice cold Pepsi. Thank you for watching TGFF Game Day. Now back to you, Jay and Justin.
Wow, some great Big 12 information this week. And now we want to thank our sponsors out there at Pepsi Cola. Like we said, nothing's better than ice cold Pepsi. Make sure you go by and get you a cold Pepsi for all your tailgate needs. Now let's go to our ACC segment, brought to you by NFM Lending. That's NFM Lending, the Justin Grice Mortgage Group. Let's go to our buddy, my co-host, my man of the hour, the legend himself, Justin Grice.
Thanks so much, Jay. It was another brilliant, amazing, great week of college football in the ACC. We had a really big slate last week. I'm just only going to touch on kind of the bigger ones. The biggest one was the night game there, the 8 o'clock ACC matchup, ACC Network matchup with SMU and Pittsburgh. SMU surprisingly shocked a lot of people by winning that game very handily. They were able to use a 24-point second quarter to take that lead. They ended up winning 48-25, and they are now squarely in line for the ACC title game as well. So it was a week of ACC title championship appearance implications. Clemson also was not able to get the job done there at home against Louisville, which also had the championship game implications as well. Louisville was able to get that win 33-21. And then another good one that we had was going to be looking at the Miami and Duke game. Miami is still continuing to steamroll their way to Charlotte as well. They remained undefeated in the ACC as well at 5-0. Them and SMU both 5-0 now. They took care of Duke 53-31. And then we also had another big game down in the Syracuse Orange took down the Virginia Tech Hokies as they were looking to try to give their opportunity for Charlotte. But those hopes are a little bit less now as they lost on the road to Syracuse 38-31. Both teams now 3-2 in the conference. So Florida State continued its downward trend as well as they lost at home to North Carolina 35-11. And NC State got the job done against Stanford at home, putting up their best offensive game of the season, winning 59-28 in that one as well. So tons of great games, tons of championship implications last week. But there's going to be another great slate of games this week as well. Not as many, but we're going to start with tonight's game, Cal and Wake Forest. Cal's coming across the country to Winston-Salem to take on the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Wake Forest 2-2. Cal is 0-4 in the conference, looking to get their first win. They are actually favored in this game, oddly enough, but I think that one's going to be a really, really tough game for them to get, as most of the teams from the ACC this year that have traveled across 3 time zones have not been able to get the job done. NC State is one of the only teams to travel to Stanford to Cal, to get that job done as well. But nevertheless, another great game. That one's going to be right here in my neck of the woods as well. But we're also going to be looking at the Miami and Georgia Tech game, kind of an old school Coastal Division rivalry. Miami's going on the road to Atlanta to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's 3-3 in the ACC. Miami's still undefeated at 5-0. So we will see if Miami can continue to get the job done on the road. They are playing extremely good football right now. So we will see if they can still hold serve as they continue to try to give themselves a little bit more breathing room as they try to make their way towards Charlotte. Another really good game starting out at 12 o'clock on the CW as well this week is going to be the Syracuse Orange visiting Boston College this week. The Orange coming off a really big win last week they're going to look to try to see if they can stay hot and move to 4-2 in the ACC. Sadly enough, they are not favored as well in this game. So another middle of the road matchup, against teams that you would think would be favored, but Syracuse is actually the underdog in this one as well. And then another really good one at Lane Stadium at 3:30 on ESPN is going to be the Tigers taking on the Hokies. Virginia Tech is going to be hosting Clemson. Clemson looking to rebound from their first ACC loss of the year. They are 5-1. Virginia Tech 3-2. Should be a really, really fun football game to watch there in Blacksburg. Really one of the ones I'm singling out for this week as one of my top 3 games. And then we also have a in-state rivalry game that will be at 3:30 on the ACC network. The Duke Blue Devils are visiting the NC State Wolfpack in Raleigh, and that is going to be a game that is going to be a very high scoring and a very close game. The spread is only 3 in this one in favor of the Wolfpack. So those two teams will look to see if they can finish out their season strongs. Duke is already bowl eligible. NC State looking to get bowl eligible this week, as both teams are 2-3 in the ACC. So we will see if they can get the jobs done this week and continue on as they make their way towards bowl season. And then we've got the struggling Florida State Seminoles visiting South Bend at Notre Dame, number 10 Notre Dame, as the new CFP rankings came out this week. And the Fighting Irish were off last week, so they're looking to use that bye week to continue their momentum towards the college football playoff as well. They are a pretty heavy favorite against the Noles as they look to try and continue to steamroll towards December. And then finally, we got the ACC Network's game of the week is going to be Pittsburgh taking on Virginia. Virginia visits Pittsburgh this week, and the Panthers look to rebound and continue to try to see if they can stay in the hunt for Charlotte this week. They are 7-1, 3-1 overall, but Virginia also coming off a tough loss. They are 2-3, looking to try to get back on track. So another great week of awesome football games here in the ACC, Jay, and so we're looking forward to seeing how these teams continue on. So looking forward to another great week. Thanks again, and obviously for us, it's our website. It's going to be www.nfmlending.com/Jay Grice for all of your mortgage needs. So looking forward to it as well, Jay.
All right, Justin, that was some great ACC news and notes. And now we're going to go to our Sunbelt, SSN, Coastal Carolina. We're talking about our good buddy John Byard giving us all things that are Sunbelt, brought to you by our favorite guy, Aries Curry at CatchThisSports.com. That's CatchThisSports.com. Go by, see Aries Curry. He will help you with all your athlete needs. He trains athletes no matter what the sport, what the gender. We do it all. That's Aries Curry at CatchThisSports.com. Let's go to our Sunbelt guy, John Byard.
Good Saturday morning and welcome to week 11 of college football's game day on Greenville Sports Media and the Teal Roost podcast. And we are going to be talking about the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers and also the Sunbelt Conference predictions that we have each week. And so I look forward to bringing you that information today. And let's get started. We've got a big game Thursday night. I'm kind of playing catch up here because I'm playing before the Saturday morning show and before the recording. So I'm trying to do my best to bring you as much information about the game tonight as I can, not knowing really what the outcome is. And I apologize for that. I'll have to catch up with you next Saturday on Week 12 show. But Coastal is going to be taking on Appalachian State tonight at 8 p.m. on ESPN. It's the Thursday night ESPN game of the week. And we'll have Matt Baer here with ESPN, along with some other crew folks there. I believe Harry Lyles is going to be on the sideline, and Dan Mullen's going to be in the booth with Matt Baer. And of course, they were both here at the the university earlier today on the Sports Center show at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Having a lot of fun with Coach Beck as well as the students there. Great turnout. Glad to see that in Shots land happening. And we're really excited about all the great things that are happening here. But let me get you a little bit up to date on how these two teams have fared playing each other in the last few seasons. And of course, it is a serious rivalry between these two teams. And as a matter of fact, they just don't like each other, period. Not even the fans. We don't get along too well either. And when we go up to Boone and play there at that beautiful facility that App State has up there that we were at last year and actually beat App State for the first time on that field in Boone. And so we're on a 2-game winning streak against them, having beat them in Coastal, or beat them here in Conway the year before. So we're very excited about it. The two teams have both struggled from time to time this year, and they both have had what you might say a rough first half of the season for these two teams that are, generally season to season are very competitive and usually fighting against each other in the Eastern Conference for the title there. And, it's just been a rough scenario. I mean, App State won it last year on the Eastern side, and they just kind of fell apart at the beginning of the season. And Coastal has just been hit and miss. We don't know what Coastal team's going to show up from game to game. It's really hard to tell what this team is really suffering from. We made coaching changes. I didn't do anything. The university decided that it was going to part ways with Coach Trickett. And as the offensive coordinator, Coach Beck's taken over that responsibility. He also has taken over the quarterback's responsibility. He started Ethan Vasco last week in the Chanticleer's loss. And we didn't really see that much difference in the offense in comparison to when Coach Trickett was here. The thing that we saw that was really a bitter pill to swallow was the lack of our defense playing against Troy. And Troy just, ran the ball down our throat. They had 2 running backs that were fantastic, and both of those guys were over 100 yards. I think one of them was, definitely in the 200s in overall offensive performance. So, it just really, really hurt to see the defense play that way, and kind of made you wonder, man, did we make a mistake in coaching choice changes there, and did we make the right one? I don't know, but I guess we'll find out as the season goes on. And we're hoping that, we can get it turned around, because the Chanticleers haven't lost 4 football games since back in 2018. And that was, a rough season that year. And we just, we're just not accustomed to that. We're not accustomed to losing ball games like that. We lose, but we generally don't lose 3 additional games after that, or 2 additional games. It's just not, it just hasn't happened. But this is Coach Beck in his 2nd season, and we've seen quite a bit of that. So we're gonna be positive about the game tonight. We're going to be cheering on the Chanticleers. We want everybody to come out to Brooks Stadium, fill the seats, fill the stadium, wear your black, because tonight is a blackout night. They're giving away blackout towels. It's going to be an exciting, fun, fanfare atmosphere that goes on every week with pyrotechnics and motorcycles. And it is just really, really a fantastic atmosphere to be watching a football game in. We're looking forward to it. And Coastal, like I said, they're looking for big things out of their players, according to the coach this game. They're continuing to look for great things out of the offensive line. The offensive line has been just a fantastic O-line this year. They've only given up 7 sacks the entire season. so far, and that ranks number 6 in the nation, as best in the nation. And Jamison Tucker has caught passes in 11 consecutive games, and that dates all the way back to last year's Texas State game. So, we've got a lot of things to look positive to and for tonight. We've got 2 good quarterbacks. If we need to use both of them, we'll probably use both of them. We've got Brandon Bennett in the backfield running the football. He's like a freight train back there. We got Jamison Tucker, like I mentioned, going down the sidelines. We've got Kenneth Carr just tearing it up at tight end and catching the ball across the middle and making big blocks in there and big hits. So, let's just keep going, guys. Defense is, he's got to step it up tonight. The defense has to come to play tonight because App State is not going to be an easy team to beat. I can tell you that. You're going to have to play every second of the clock and play it hard, run through every whistle, do everything that you've been taught, because Sean Clark is one heck of a football coach, and he's going to come in here wanting to embarrass Coastal Carolina and in front of their fans, and we're not going to let him do that tonight. We're going to reverse that scenario. I'm hoping that our guys aren't looking forward to Marshall next week. But I'm hoping the Marshall's looking forward to us next week instead of playing the game that they should win this Saturday. And we'll talk about that a little bit in the predictions here in a minute. But again, I just hope that we are ready to buckle down and go. We're ready to play this game, every play, every down. That we finish this ball game is really what we need to do. We need to finish. So as I mentioned, on November the 16th, it's a 1 p.m. game up at Marshall. Will be our next game after this Thursday night ball game against Appalachian State. And we look forward to that game. We're traveling up there, going to see some family, and going to spend time at the game with them as well, and cheer on the shots up there and bring you some live stuff from up there as well. So we're looking forward to that. So, please do this. Please stay tuned to the Teal Roost podcast. You can see us on YouTube. That's the easiest way, on our YouTube channel, and that is the Teal Roost podcast. Get on there and follow us. If you like what you're seeing, subscribe to us. Doesn't cost you anything. You can control your notifications on there. So, it's a great thing. And, again, I'm trying to bring you Coastal Carolina sports information, whether it be football, baseball, soccer, basketball. We're into our basketball season now. Both men's and women's, both men and women kicked off a win this past week. So we're both looking forward to covering everything that we can when it comes to Coastal Carolina sports. So, again, if you don't see us on there, please follow us at Greenville Sports Media. Again, that's Greenville Sports Media. You can find that at greenvillesportsmedia.com. We're posted up on the website there with the other podcast channels and also with articles that we do for them as well. We're thankful for them and their support each and every week as we do this show. So let's get on with the SBC Weekly Week 11 predictions. And I've got 4 ball games on here for you guys. And the first one that I'm looking at is Texas State against ULM. That's the Texas State Bobcats against the Warhawks. And here's the overall. Texas State comes into this game at 4-4. They are 2-2 in the SBC. These are Western Conference teams. And ULM comes in to this game at 5-3 overall and 3-2 in the SBC. I really believe this is a toss-up game. If you look at the stats, these teams are so evenly matched on paper that I believe it's just going to be a toss-up game. And I really, I've called this game really close here. We're going with 31-28. And that's basically, I'm going to go with what my gut feeling is Texas State. And I think Texas State's going to pull an upset this week. They're starting to kind of turn around. And again, it's going to be a toss-up game, very close. I believe they're going to go back and forth, and it may come down to a field goal. It may come down to a last-minute touchdown, but it's going to be a toss-up game. The next one that I'm looking at is Marshall, the Thundering Herd. They're taking on Southern Miss Golden Eagles, and they're playing down at Southern Miss in Hattiesburg. And I believe that that this is going to be an upset special for me this week. Marshall's 5-3 overall and 3-1 in the conference. Southern Miss, they're 1-7. Poor guys, but they're 0-4 in the conference. They're looking for their first win. And it's a homecoming game for them. And I really believe in my heart that perhaps Marshall might be looking ahead in this game to playing Coastal Carolina at Huntington next weekend. And I just think that it's going to be an upset special. And I'm going to go with Southern Miss Golden Eagles getting their their first win in the SBC this coming Saturday. And they're also going to be 2-7 overall. And this has always been a really good football team in the past. And, I think they have a lot of pride and they really want to show something. So listen, I've got them in this game at 28-24. Southern gets the W. The next game up is Georgia State, the Panthers versus James Madison, the Dukes. The Panthers are 2-6 overall and 0-4 in the conference. James Madison is 6-2 overall and 2-2 in the SBC. And those two games that they've lost have been really weird games and really weird, just entirely weird for James Madison, because normally they can put, 70 on North Carolina one week and hang 70 on them in an ACC team that it's got a pretty decent football team, and then turn around and lose a game the next week that they should just absolutely win as well. So I think James Madison has kind of gotten their acts together. I believe this is going to be a total blowout, and I've got JMU at 56-17. My last team that I've got here is Arkansas State, the Red Wolves, and they're going to be playing the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. And the Raging Cajuns are at home. They're 7-1 on the season, 4-0 in the Sunbelt, and they're first place in the SBC West. They have just been tearing it up. We've got to see them play against us earlier in the season, and they're a good, balanced, well-balanced football team. And I think that with them being playing their homecoming game and it being a really tough place to win to start with, and it being their only loss of the season, come back to September the 21st, I believe I looked at it, was against Tulane. And they lost to Tulane 41-33, if I remember correctly, in that game. So I think they want to try to finish this season out with, no losses in the SBC and, no more losses in their overall record. They're looking potentially to be one of maybe our Power 4 teams that actually make it to play in one of our bowl games. Excuse me, I said Power 4, I meant Power 5, to play against some of the Power 4 teams. But just think that they're kind of on that track, and I think a lot of other people that are writers around the country, other podcasters, sports podcasters, college football people, are seeing this kind of the same thing out of Arkansas State. So, Louisiana Raging Cajun, excuse me. So I am picking those guys to win this game. I think that with Butch Jones, he always has his teams ready to play. I don't like Butch very much. 30 hit last year on Grayson McCall, our quarterback that's been a legend at Coastal Carolina. And it was definitely a targeting call. Did not get called for targeting. And it ruined his season. It ended his career at Coastal Carolina, which, still got kind of a bad taste in our mouth. But I still think that they're a good ball club. And, even despite sometimes people thinking that they play a little bit of unethical football, I still think that the Raging Cajuns are going to come through 35-30 this week against Arkansas State Red Wolves. So, having said all that, again, please, if you will, go on our podcast on YouTube and take a look at the Teal Roost podcast. Just search for it. It'll come up. You can go on to our page. We just surpassed 50 subscribers, which is, something that we are Totally thankful for all you great people out there that help us each and every week, that help us to do great things and help us to be able to bring you this show, as well as our articles that you read and everything associated with Coastal Carolina sports, as well as Greenville Sports Media. Take care. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your college football, and have a great week. And Shants up.
Welcome back in. And again, once again, thank you so much to Aries Curry over there at catchthissports.com. Make sure you go check out his website as well. He takes really good care of all of the athletes and a really good friend of the program as well. But next up, we are going to head over to our really good friend and Sports Illustrated Notre Dame correspondent, Mr. Nathan Urbach. He's going to be breaking down this week the Florida State game that will be in South Bend. So, Nathan, we look forward to it. Take it away and let us know what's going on in South Bend. Welcome again. Thanks again, Nathan, so much for joining the show again with us this week. We are going to be talking Notre Dame and Florida State this week. Another really big chance, another opportunity this week for the Fighting Irish to continue their charge towards a possible college football playoff. As the new rankings came out this week, I'm going to let Nathan talk to us and give us his thoughts on the upcoming game against Florida State and what his thoughts were on the rankings this week as well. So take it away, my guy.
Yeah, so obviously not the game that we were expecting when the season started, right? So obviously with Florida State coming off their undefeated regular season last year, everybody kind of thought this was going to be Notre Dame's, marquee game outside of Texas A&M, and probably their marquee game, even including Texas A&M, at least going into the season. So obviously with Texas A&M being on the road, that was the big aspect of that. But I think most people assumed that Florida State would, not necessarily go undefeated this year, but certainly be in the mix for the college football 12-team playoff, or at least an ACC championship appearance or something like that. And obviously things have kind of gone in the opposite direction for them, which I think can happen. I think the biggest thing with Florida State, honestly, is, when you dive into the portal as heavily as they do, sometimes things aren't going to mesh. And I think that's kind of what's happened this year is they had a really, really good quarterback last year before he got hurt. He was obviously with them. Jordan Travis was there for, more than one season. I think I forget if he was recruited by them or not, but I know he was there for multiple seasons.
Yeah. He transferred, but he was there for 3 seasons, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Right. So there was obviously some continuity there, inside the program and being a good player. And when you go into the portal and bring in a guy like DJ, who hasn't necessarily had the success, that a Jordan Travis did at either stop that he was with Clemson and Oregon State, you got to expect that the offense isn't going to be there necessarily. And I think even outside of him and being injured and stuff like that, it's just hasn't been what they obviously were expecting. So,
yeah, I think you're spot on with that. I mean, the biggest thing that I took away from their team this year was, losing Keon Coleman and those receivers that they had last year was a big loss for them. And, losing Jordan Travis too. Like you mentioned, he had been in the program ever since Norvell had kind of gotten that program started too. So you had a lot of continuity and a lot of familiarity as well with the offense and things like that. So it was just a tough year for them. They hit the portal hard, like you said, but things just didn't come together. But ultimately for you guys, should be a really good win for y'all, at least this week, as you guys play host to them. So what do you think are going to be the key things that Notre Dame needs to do this week in order to continue their march to the playoff?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is to not have a letdown. Obviously, with the Florida State brand, you're probably expecting that won't be the case. I know Notre Dame has a couple guys on their team that, for example, Chris Mitchell, who was a transfer from FIU this year at the wide receiver position, he told reporters this week, or I don't know if it was this week or last week, but essentially he said that Florida State was his dream school growing up. So that will obviously be a big game for him. So doubtful that, someone like himself and even other guys on the roster won't take this game seriously. It's a night game in South Bend. Those obviously usually do well for the crowd and do well for the players as well. So I don't see a letdown here per se. And obviously, I think with the Northern Illinois loss that they had earlier in the season, sort of everybody just assumes that Notre Dame has that in the back of their mind every time they play now. And they realize that, if they go 11-1, they're in the playoff and probably hosting at this point. And if they don't win, they're not going to be. If they don't win out, they're not going to be in the playoff at all, unless something goes crazy. Yeah, I mean, I think with that said, I'm expecting Notre Dame's offense to sort of continue where they've kind of left off the past, 4 or 5 weeks. The passing game should be better. The ironic thing about all of this is that they've played a lot of defenses over the last 5 to 6 weeks that stop the run very well, which is Notre Dame's strength. And they kind of just assume that they can load the box, stop the run, and then Riley Leonard won't beat you because early on in the season he was struggling. The Notre Dame offense was struggling in the passing game. It's kind of been the opposite. What they've done is they've loaded the box. Notre Dame has still continued to run the ball effectively overall with their 2 backs in Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, and then obviously Riley Leonard in the run game as well. And then Riley Leonard has started to pick people apart, especially in the RPO game. That's been a big factor for him over the last couple of weeks. It wasn't really a factor over the first, 3 to 4 weeks of the year. But as the season has continued to go on, Mike Denbrock has brought a little, some new wrinkles every week that I think is inspiring for the offense, because I think sometimes you expected a team to sort of be a well-oiled machine when they get into like week 8, week 9, and you sort of you present new things on film, and that's going to get defensive coordinators sort of like, well, hey man, I wasn't expecting this after 8-9 weeks, because so it's almost a benefit that they were it's weird to say, it's almost a benefit that they were sort of slow out of the gate. And now that they're sort of finding their footing, they're able to add new things on a weekly basis.
I think that's been a really good thing from us, as we've talked about it throughout the season, is really kind of watching Notre Dame grow up. I think that's kind of the biggest thing that we've seen, week after week for them, is they just continue to kind of get better and better. And that's what you would expect, from a team like them, as you start to put all the pieces together, because you still got, time to get the chemistry going. So I think it's been really fun to watch them kind of grow up since that Northern Illinois game. That game's kind of, for me, it almost seems like it was a long time ago now. It's like, even though it wasn't that far back, but I really enjoyed watching Notre Dame grow up and get better this week, and kind of get back to being the team that we all kind of thought that they can be, especially with the talent that they get there in South Bend. So I think this one's going to be another really good opportunity for you guys to showcase the talent that y'all have, and I think it'll be a really fun one as well. Florida State still got some talent, on that team. So I mean, it's not going to be anything, but I think they're so far mentally checked out at this point that, it's been a really rough season for them. And I think it's only going to get rougher with Notre Dame being able to stay physical up front, like you were talking about earlier. So should be a really fun one. But just give me your real quick thoughts too on the playoff rankings, and kind of what you were expecting. Is that what you were expecting from Notre Dame, or were you expecting them to be a little bit higher, a little bit lower?
Yeah, I said the day before that I would be surprised if they were anything below 10 and anything above 7. I know that's obviously kind of a wide gap, but with the committee, they all have their opinions, and they sort of, they fell on the back end of what I was talking about, but it just made sense to me that, I think right now, with it being the first ranking that came out, you can still kind of put the Northern Illinois loss and say, hey, like they have maybe the worst loss of anybody in the, at least in the top 12, which is completely fair. I mean, it's not something that goes away. But I think as the season goes on, specifically if they win out, then all of a sudden you're saying, okay, like, yeah, they have a crappy loss, but they beat every other single team on their schedule, including some really good teams like Texas A&M, and some other ranked teams like Louisville and Georgia Tech at the time, which I think is still a pretty good opponent who might even knock off someone this week. So
I'm hoping
so
they do knock off somebody this week. That's what I hope.
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting over to Miami train at all, but it's been really good. I mean, Northern Illinois got another really good win last night too, so it's only kind of helping strengthen what you guys were doing. against them. You know, even though it was a loss, they're showing that they really are still a pretty good football team. So they're only 1 win away from bowl eligibility right now. So they're trucking towards a 7-8 win season too. So at the end of the year, it may not be a bad loss for you guys on that. But I'm expecting another good, knockdown, drag out Florida State, Notre Dame type game this week. I'm hoping that Notre Dame is able to continue to get their things moving towards the playoff. I'd like to see them establish themselves and get themselves back to the playoff contention again. I think you're right. I think they may play towards being a host at the end of the year. They got a really tough game with Army as well, so they got another opportunity to showcase themselves and strengthen their case. So look forward to another awesome, good week. I know you enjoyed the week off, so it's going to be fun watching your boys coming back to play again. So we look forward to it as well. Thank you so much as well for joining the show, as always, my friend.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. And just real quick on a prediction, I guess. I know you always like to get the predictions in there if we can. I've been a lot of people have sort of said my prediction might be too high because I had Florida State scoring 20 points in this game. But I think with it being a night game atmosphere and Notre Dame might play some backups, maybe even early on in the second half. I'm not going to necessarily. I think in my SI prediction, I picked 48-20 Notre Dame, which still has Notre Dame covering. And I don't think anybody would be too upset about that. And I even mentioned in my prediction that I think that if Florida State actually does get to that 20 points that I mentioned, that it would be sort of a garbage time touchdown when Notre Dame has their backups in. So a lot of others are obviously mentioning that Notre Dame will probably not even give up 10 points, considering this is probably the best defense that Florida State's played. And I think they've only scored more than 20 points once this year. And it was the first game of the season in Dublin when they lost as well. So, but I don't know. People take predictions too seriously and say like, oh, you don't know football if you say something. And then all of a sudden, who knows? I get like a pick six and a fumble recovery, and then things just change all over the place. So.
Yeah. So I've watched pretty much every Florida State game this week. And if you would ask me what my prediction is, if I could give them negative points this week, if they could somehow not score negative points, I would give them negative points this week. Their offense is just really atrocious. And like you said, Notre Dame's defense, probably the best defense they've played this year. So
certainly fair. I mean, if I hope I'm wrong. If it's 48-20, like cool, like kudos to me for predicting the score correctly, right? But if Notre Dame wins 48-0, it's obviously better for their resume. So
I think with the way Florida State struggled, they got 11 points at home last week against North Carolina. So, and North Carolina is not exactly known for their defense. So, they're better this year, but they're still not good. So. I think if I could give a -2, maybe they get their own safety or something like Florida State this week. But should be another fun week. Should be an enjoyable week for you guys. We'll get you back in next week as well as we get deeper into the college football rankings and get closer and closer to the end of the season. So thank you again as always for joining the show. We appreciate your insight. So we'll look forward to talking to you next week.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nate, for giving us all that awesome news over there for Notre Dame. They are really playing really good football right now. Also, thanks to our friends over at Vero Fencing as well for sponsoring the Notre Dame segment of the week as well. But Jay, it is that time for us to go ahead and get our picks in of the week. We are looking at our guest picker, Jordan Caskey, joined us this week as well. We're going to be running through those. That is going to be brought to you by our good friends over at the Point RV at Lake Hartwell. Make sure you go check them out. They are a great spot for all of your little mini vacation needs. They got a ton of great places over there. They've got, the picnic tables, the places you can rent out to put your trailers, any of those things over there. So go visit them at the Point RV. So Jay, we are going to get started on our picks of the week as well this week. Number one and first game of the week that we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing the Friday night game tonight, which is going to be Cal and Wake. So Cal is going to be visiting Wake Forest. So are you taking the Wake Forest Demon Deacons or Underdogs? Or are you going to take Cal this week?
Well, Wake Forest traveled to Stanford and won. They was one of the other teams that was able to do the 3-time zone run and get a win. I think they get the win this week for sure. And Jordan sent me his pick, and he's picking Cal in this game to come to Wake Forest and pull out the win.
I like it. So Cal is obviously favored in this game. I have seen Cal play numerous games, and they are just can't get out of their own way in the fourth quarter. They've had so many tough losses, and I think it's going to be another tough game and another tight game this week. So I'm going to go against the spread this week, though, and I'm going to take Wake Forest at home this week. I think they get the job done. So 2-on-1 for this week. But next up, we are going to be hitting up the South Carolina Vandy game, and I think we might have had, some insight into this one a little bit earlier in the game. So we are going to be nailing that one out. So, Jay, who do you have in this one in the big SEC matchup?
Give me Vandy in this game. I'm not going to pick for South Carolina. I don't care what their record is. Give me Vandy over South Carolina, and Jordan has picked South Carolina over Vandy.
Ooh, that's a good one. So I'm going to go with Vandy at home as well. I think South Carolina really got up last week and just they're going to have a letdown game. I think this week on the road, I really like what Vandy's doing. So give me Vandy as well this week. I'm going to follow your lead on that one. So I'm looking forward to that one, though. Really some good slate in the SEC this week as well. So we're going to head down your way, though, next time, Jay. We're doing Western Carolina and East Tennessee State. So I got a chance to see East Tennessee State's women's basketball team, but what's going on in their football team. So who are you going to be taking this week?
Western Carolina and East Tennessee State is going to be a great matchup. I think the Bucks have got a great offense. Problem is their defense against Western Carolina. It's going to be a crazy game. It's going to be, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be played at. It's going to be at East Tennessee State. I think that Western Carolina, though, goes in and gets the win and basically secures the SoCon other than facing Mercer.
Who did Jordan take this week in that one?
Jordan picked Western Carolina.
I'm going to follow his lead as well. I'm taking the Catamounts this week. I saw them early in the season. Love Cole Gonzalez. Love that team. Love what they're doing. Give me the Catamounts this week. And then we're doing Army and North Texas up next. So does Army stay undefeated this week, Jay?
Yeah, without a shadow of doubt. If Army takes this game, Jordan said the same thing. Army is just too strong. I'm looking forward to seeing them in the playoffs.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens in that Army-Navy game, right? So there's
a
great game for that. So, yeah, give me Army. I think this one's just a pretty much easy one straight across the board. Give me them this week. And then we're going to be hitting up Utah State and Washington State. So Wazoo is going to be my pick, but I'm going to let you take yours, Jay. Who are you taking in this one?
Me and Jordan both have got Washington State getting the win.
Across the board. I love it. So 3 picks for Washington State. I think they're going to get the job done at home this week. And then this is another one of our really good favorites, the ACC versus the half ACC is what I call it. So FSU and Notre Dame. This one's in South Bend, Jay. I think this one's another easy one for me, just a little layup. So give me Notre Dame this week as well. So what did Jordan and your take this week?
Without a shadow of doubt, Notre Dame. I don't think anybody's stupid enough to pick FSU at this point.
Yep. So who Jordan have in that one?
Notre Dame.
Okay, good. So next one, this one's a really interesting one for me. Liberty and Middle Tennessee State's another really good one. Liberty kind of fell out of the playoff once they had their really tough loss, but I still really like that football team. I like what they're doing. So, Jay, who did you take and who did Jordan take? And then I'll give you mine on that one.
Well, Jordan joined you at Liberty, but I'm going to take Middle Tennessee State in the upset.
All right, awesome. Yeah, I'm taking Liberty in this one. I still think they're a good football team, and I still think they're going to get the job done too. So, next one's going to be another really good one. It's going to be Georgia State and James Madison. I really like this as another really intriguing matchup as well. James Madison going to be hosting this one. So I'll let you give yours and Jordan's take first, and I'll give you ours.
Me and Jordan both picked James Madison. I'm sorry.
Across the board, once again, looks like we're all pretty much in the same boat this week. I'm going to take James Madison as well. Give me the Dukes this week to get the job done on that as well. And then I'm going to head back out west now. We're going to do a few of those. I'm going to start with what's going to be my most intriguing matchup this week, the South Dakota State and North Dakota. This one's a really, really good one, Battle of the Dakotas. So I'm going to let you start out with this one, Jay, and then I'll give you my take.
Both me and Jordan have picked South Dakota State in this game in a close one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be super close. I do like South Dakota State, too. They're a really, really good football team. They always have. Ben and I think they always will be. So give me them as well this week. So another across the board pick this week. And then we're going to hit up this one. To me, was another really good one, too. Colorado and Texas Tech. We talked a little bit about this one last night. I'm going to stick with my pick from last night. I'm taking the Buffs. So tell me what you guys got.
Both of us picked Colorado.
Yep. Awesome. It sounds like we're all mostly in agreement this week, Jay. This one's been a pretty little easy week for us this week. But I think this one's going to be our next two big matchups going to the SEC. I'm saving one game on our list, particularly for one of my co-hosts of our other show. But I want you to talk about Ole Miss and Georgia this week. Did you guys take the Lane Payne train, or are you going with the Georgia Bulldogs this week?
This game is going to be interesting. Jordan picked Georgia. He thinks they're going to pull it out in the fourth quarter. Give me Ole Miss just to upset the apple cart altogether. That's right. Lane Train gets a big win, something he hasn't really had a lot of. He's going to get this win against Georgia. Beck's going to throw probably 3 or 4 interceptions, and Georgia's fans are going to be in an uproar for a new quarterback.
I like it. I mean, Jackson Dart's really playing at a very high level of football right now. I really like what he's doing. But I'm going to do the Lee Corso not so fast, my friend. I'm going to take the Ferrari and the Georgia Bulldogs this week. I had the Lane Payne train against the Georgia Bulldogs Ferrari, so give me the Georgia Bulldogs this week. I do think they're for real. I do think they've had some games that are tough and they haven't looked good in, but I do think their defense is good enough to get it done. Then this one, really, if this was the old school divisional matchup, this would really be a game that is going to determine the division winner. But I think in this case, the loser of this next game is going to be officially out of the playoffs for sure. And I think the winner of this football game potentially sets themselves up for a very easier path to the playoffs. So we're going to go down to the Bayou and see what we got going on at Bama and LSU. So, Jay, who you got for that one this week?
That's our game of the week. Both me and Jordan agree that LSU at night is going to be LSU. I think Bama just is going to get rolled up. LSU's defense has gotten a little bit better, so I give both of us give the nod to LSU at night, at home, at LSU. LSU gets it done.
I like that one too. I took the Tigers last night as well, so I'm going to stay with them and take the Tigers as well. I think they get it done. I think Bama is out of the playoff at that point. And then I saved this one. That was obviously our game of the week picks, but I'm going to save the Holy War 2 for you, Jay. That's our last one. Who are you taking in the Holy War, BYU or Utah?
In this game, BYU. Jordan agrees to BYU over Utah.
I like that too. So across the board, I think we were pretty much across the board on most of our picks this week. So looking forward to this slate, though. Another really good week of football, Jay. So looking forward to it as well. So thank you, Jordan, as well. We always appreciate you for throwing in your picks as well. He's always done a really good job for me and Jay. So thank you for joining the show and letting us know what your thoughts were this week. Jay, we still got one more friend of the program pick to go through as well. So it's going to be Mr. Uncle Bobby. I think he's got something special going on this week, but I don't know if he's going to be out at the wine bar again, but ultimately I hope that he is, because, you know, his segment's always brought to us by the Clemson wine bar as well, our really good friends over there. So I'm thinking that, you know, with everything that went on this week, he might have had a really big reason, you know, to be out at the wine bar. this week. You just never know where he's going to show up or how he's going to be feeling. So we're going to let him take that one away and give us his pick of the week as well this week, Jay. And we appreciate our good friends again over at Clemson Wine Bar. Thank you guys so much for all that you do for the show.
Hello, everybody. It's your old pal, Uncle Bobby. And this week's picks are going to be big, just like the presidential election. That's right, Uncle Bobby, I didn't win the election with Arden's Burger and Grill's Angie, but you know what? We're still the best ones. Anyway, give me Trump over Camilla. Oh, wait a second, that already happened. Anyway, let me just tell you who my picks are this week. Give me LSU over Alabama, and give me Wake Forest over Cal.
Well, I guess we just figured out that Bobby is still upset about the presidential race, and his picks are proof that Clemson Wine Bar is the best place to go to get you an ice-cold adult beverage.
Absolutely, man. I just don't even know what to say about Uncle Bobby. I know he's having a week this week with the election and all of that, but man, what a pick for him this week. Thanks so much to Uncle Bobby for doing what he does. I think he might have both of us beat at this point, Jay, with his picks. So I think he's at least showing some, some information and some solid stuff going on with it. But Jay, I'm going to let you finish this out. It's going to be another great week of football. I'm excited to start tonight. I'm excited to see another great slate of games tonight and tomorrow. So looking forward to another great weekend.
Exactly. And of course, everybody, you can catch this at greenvillesportsmedia.com every Saturday at 8 a.m. right at the very top. It's something that shows all week, or you can catch it on our TGFF Game Day YouTube channel at 9 a.m. So we just want to thank everybody for what you do, for supporting our company. We want to thank, of course, our sponsors, Hyundai of Anderson. Use code HOA24. That's HOA24. Go by, see Herschel and all of the great people over at Hyundai of Anderson. We want to thank, of course, Pepsi Cola. We want to thank the Point RV at Lake Hartwell, Arden's Burger Grill in Central South Carolina. Coming soon, Beef and Rib in Westminster, South Carolina. We also want to thank Sittin Pretty Dog Grooming, TrueVictory.com, Cowboy Revolution, SeekJesus.com, and all of our other sponsors. We thank you so much for what you do for GreenvilleSportsMedia.com, FurmanJoust.com, A Whole Pack of Wolves.com, and TheFangirls.com. You can go to all 4 websites, get all your news and information. Depending on what you're looking for, they have it all. And thank you to our producer, Real Fresh. That's right, our guy, Fresh Takes. We appreciate you, Howie Fresh, for everything you do for our show. I want to thank our host right here, Mr. Justin Grice, for all he does, leading the charge, and all of our crazy, Sittin Pretty Dog Grooming, Ralphie. We want to thank, well, do we have to? But we should thank Uncle Bobby for being a part of the show, and of course, all of you for supporting us.
TGFF, back up for football. Game day. TGFF, back up for football. Game day. TGFF, back up for football. Game day. TGFF, back up for football. Game day.
You have tuned in to another episode of Thank God for Football, brought to you by the Fanboys, powered by Greenville Sports Media.